Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Fuel for Success. I'm excited. Today's Wednesday, one of my favorite days, one of my 7 favorite, actually. And I'm,
Like all days, don't you?
I like them all. Hey, if it's a day, it's a good day. Imagine not having a day. Think how much better
Did
this
you
is.
did you have breakfast this morning, my friend? I'm
No.
not mad if you didn't. I'm not mad if you didn't. You're safe to say you didn't. We're still friends. It doesn't affect our friendship. I was just curious.
Actually, no, I intended to. In fact, yesterday when I saw the oatmeal in the pantry, I said, I'm having oatmeal for breakfast. And you know what? I got up at 5:30. I had my devotion and prayer time, got Danny off to school, and got involved in some work stuff and totally, literally forgot. And the show snuck up on me. The show did because I was so busy getting some work stuff done. But how about yourself?
Um, Today is not to broadcast it, but it's a fast day for me. So, didn't get to have breakfast, but I'm okay with that. Mike, tell us a little bit about your kids. Most people don't even know who Danny and John is. Give us a little minute version of each of them. Tell us about Danny, then tell us about John, their age.
Sure. Well, let me start with John because he's the oldest, and I'm just an engineer, so that's how I roll. He's 19, and he's extremely talented with his hands and with mechanical stuff. And he's a great kid. Has wonderful, has a wonderful spirit, and he's kind of an interesting kid, but. My wife's mentioning that we have 3. We actually have a daughter who doesn't live in the home anymore, so she's out on her own, and Taryn, who's in her 20s. But we're thinking about getting the kids off to school and stuff. So I'm thinking about the kids that live at home. Danny's 16, so she's in high school, and she's a trip. So pack her lunch, and you know what? Here's some. Sorry.
The writer. Put her writing up on there.
She is a writer, actually. She loves to write. That's her ambition in life is to become a writer. So she practices a lot, and maybe we'll link up some of that stuff. I don't have it right in front of me right now, but maybe on Friday, family and relationships, and maybe I'll do a little link to Danny's writing. So
And John does magic tricks. John fixes cars. Taryn is having a baby.
yeah,
John has a girlfriend named Anna.
those are all true. I was avoiding the Taryn having a baby thing because that whole grandpa thing is weird to me. You know.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna milk for all it's worth. You and Carol both. Carol's in big trouble. Grandma, I already call her mom, so now it's going to another level.
That's right. Crazy. I can't even get my head around that.
It looks like Shelly's rebuking us because we're not talking about spirituality.
Back on task, mister.
Say that again?
I said, get back on task, mister.
Well, we like to spend the first 3 to 5 minutes just kind of sharing, you know? We need to know about your kids. I need to know if you had breakfast. You know, I'll tell you this. I made some really good tea. Now, forgive me. We all have our own style of fasting. I still drink my tea when I fast. I'm not a water only. Sometimes I'm a water only. But anyways, I made this silver needle with a mango and a coconut. Woo! I mean, my friend, what a perfect Florida tea for a good sunny day. It's a little overcast right now. We got a little rain this morning. Not too happy about that, but planning on the sun coming out a little bit more this afternoon.
Good. I had some of that tea with the coconut. It's fantastic. Loved it.
Yes. Well, today is going to be a good show. What are we talking about today, my friend?
We've got a bunch of different questions that we've got related to spirituality. One quick thing, some folks had asked about, I noticed in the early chatter here before we got started that some folks were talking about the questions from yesterday from life coaching. We'll get those sent out as soon as we can. We had a little, well, Matt, your laptop is down.
No, we didn't have a little, my friend. We have a massive here. We have a situation on our hands. My Mac is dead. So we have a major. This isn't little. This is huge.
And
So
that's
getting the
affecting.
right
Yeah.
questions on a hard drive that hopefully my computer guy is going to be able to save. Otherwise, I'm overnighting this to you, Mike, and you're going to save it.
Right. So as soon as we get those questions recovered from the abyss of the data locker, then we'll get those sent out to everyone. I've got everybody's email saved, and we'll get those out as soon as we can. So I just wanted to follow up on that. For those that emailed me, I did get your email. I'll get those questions to you as soon as I can.
Can I give a secret?
Sure.
Secret? Not one time did I really get angry about the loss of my computer. Honestly, it's huge. It really is. But this is one of the secrets to maintaining your energy and staying in a positive flow. I figured, you know what? What is, and what isn't. And the bottom line is, you know, don't never cry about the day you've never seen. I don't know that all my data's lost. Now, if and when there's a possibility that it's all lost, I might have a few words to say. But until then, I'm going to stay in a positive flow and just trust that God is going to anoint this computer guy to fix and save my information. There's a little life coaching for you. Stay in the flow, my friends. Stop speaking so much negative. Mike, too many people are in the habit of speaking. You know, Jesus said we're going to be judged by every idle word we say. That literally, that's why David said, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight.
Right.
That, like, we got to be careful of the amount of negativity and doubt and death that we speak. We don't realize truly how much our words are prophesying and producing our results. Our words are literally causing things to happen in our body, in our families, in our health, in our life. So when you have adverse situations, you've got to learn how to remain calm. You got to learn how to speak life and speak faith. And listen, that's why the Bible calls it a fight of faith, Mike.
Right.
It's a fight. You've got to fight for your faith. You have got to persevere and push through. You have got to will your way through emotions. You've got to will your way past the circumstance, past the adversity, the pressure, and refuse to speak death over that situation. All highly successful people, and this is our show about spirituality, and this ties into spirituality, Mike. One of the keys to living a spiritual life is your words. And a lot of times I see people just loosely speak things, and we got to be careful about that. I'm very cautious, even in the training of my son and teaching him what to say and what not to say. Not an overcorrection, but training. Bible says, train up a child. Training him. Caleb, don't say that. Don't speak that into the atmosphere. You've got to learn how to speak faith and speak positive and speak, life. So there you go. There's your first spiritual nugget for the day, my friends.
That's good. And I like what everybody's saying here in the comments as well. Words really are a spiritual thing. When words come out of our mouth, they are a spiritual thing. They go out into the air and they have an effect in the spirit world. So I believe it's a very powerful thing. And our words become our actions. That's good stuff. And so we've got tons of questions, but I also want to remind everyone that you can ask questions during the show, interact with us. Any question you might have, go ahead and click over and type in the chat, or click on question down below and submit it to the queue, and we'll be happy to try and answer those.
And I'm confession.
Yeah.
I confess right now that I like reading everybody's comments and suggestions and quotes and And I like that. I love it. I love that everybody's involved in the show. That's what we want it to be. When we chose this platform to host our daily talk show, we chose it because of the platform of the chat box and interaction right here next to us. I love
Right.
that.
Yes, it's very cool. Um, hey, so let's jump. I've got a lot of questions. I'm sure our participants here are also going to have questions as well. Um, and I like what you were saying about our words becoming actions and having power in our life. And this is coming at it from a really from a spiritual aspect. Um, you know, w- Actually, I had a conversation with my daughter yesterday and we were just kind of joking back and forth um, about really about addictions, and she claimed I was on drugs because I drink coffee, and there's caffeine in it, of course, um, and
That's up to me.
she has a bit of a point. But we have various. Sorry, what's that?
What'd she say? What was her point?
Uh, well, her point was really that caffeine is a drug, and that to recognize it as anything other than that is false. Um, we were sort of bantering back and forth about not being on drugs and that sort of thing, and of course she goes to a public high school, so she deals with situations where her friends use illegal drugs and they drink alcohol and things of that nature. So it's for me it's a topic that I don't shy away from, because I want it to be an open thing that she can talk to me about. And so she was mentioning the fact that caffeine is a drug, and not only is like nicotine and marijuana and all the drugs. She said caffeine is also a drug, whether it's in pop or tea or coffee. And I said, well, that's absolutely true. And some people, possibly even myself, may even have an addiction to caffeine. Um,
Well,
but
Mike, do you? Would you like to? I mean, we're open. We're here for you. Do you have an addiction?
uh, I don't know if it's so much an addiction as a never-ending necessity. And being completely transparent, I probably need a lot more sleep than I get, and I like to joke about being a software developer. My job is to convert caffeine into code. Um, a lot of late nights and so
Well,
forth.
and I mean, at the end of the day, let's be honest. There's a flip side of that. There is an element where black coffee, no sugar and syrups and all that craziness that people get at Starbucks that I'm against. Um, but that actually can be good for your heart because of the antioxidants in it,
Right.
right? So there is a flip side of that because like green tea has caffeine in it. It
Absolutely.
all goes back to moderation.
Totally agree. Hey, let me ask you this then. And I was kind of
Has a coffee addiction, so we're going to get you guys some help, maybe some coffee classes or support groups. Get you some help there.
I appreciate that. Uh,
Arnie says I need to be louder.
well, maybe if I drop mine down a little bit, and then people can just turn up their overall volume. And how does that? Does that work a little bit better, Arnold? Let's try that. Matt, say something.
I'm just kidding. I'm here.
I'm like going, what is going on? I'm freaking out. That's not funny. All right, it's funny.
We need to start answering these questions.
Carol said that you need to hold still, but that's sort of like me not drinking coffee.
Yeah, stillness is hard for me. I'm one of those type people that I move, you know.
Hey, let me ask you this. I was going to talk about addiction, but I decided to change my mind. Um, let me ask you this, and I know one of the things that impacted me, years ago, the very first time I went to a soul winners boot camp was you taught a lesson where you said one of the greatest ways for us as a church to reach people is to stop being weird. And that impacted me. And you just went away. Does everybody else lose Matt? We'll get to him in a second. Um, you're back.
Am
Uh,
I back?
and
It's
you,
for a
yeah,
minute. Okay. Anyways, yeah,
hang
what you're
on.
saying is stop being weird, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that impacted me a lot because it really opened my eyes to the fact that, yeah, a lot of people are pretty weird, and God's not weird. But what do you think causes spiritual people to become weird,
Yeah, Mike, I'm
quote
going to
unquote
be
spiritual?
honest about this. In my travels, I've encountered a lot of great spiritual people. Unfortunately, some of them were strange and weird. And it actually kind of there's got to become a balance here because I've met a lot of spiritual people that were weird with their spirituality. And I don't believe for one second that Jesus was that way at all. And I think that we need to understand that when you have an encounter with God, when you start breaking through into spiritual warfare, you have to be careful. And that's why you have to become stable in the word and why you need associations and relationships. I'll give you an example. When I was in Bible college, this is no joke. There was this guy that literally prayed 4 to 6 hours a day. He was so spiritual that you would get nervous around him. And I remember we invited him out one night to go hang with us, and somebody had cracked a joke. It wasn't even an off-color joke. It wasn't a dirty joke. It was a good joke, and it was hysterical. And I was screaming, laughing, cracking up. And he got angry with me. He got like upset. And he pulled me aside and he said, "Brother, I'm really disturbed that you laughed at this joke." He's like, the Bible says that we need to be of a sober mind. And I just kind of looked at him funny. I said, "You got to be kidding me." He was very serious. Like, the man was by far one of the most spiritual people that you would ever meet. I remember one night I was sleeping, and he was literally found a way in my room. I don't know, back in Bible school days, you could use a credit card and like easily get into someone's room like that with the way the doors were, Mike. And
Yeah,
he was hovering over me. His hands were standing over me, and he was just moaning. He was literally moaning, standing over me, moaning. And that's a scary feeling when you're asleep and you wake up and somebody is standing over you moaning. And I just like, named his name. I was like, "Bro, everything okay?" And he just started speaking in tongues, just like moaning and speaking in tongues. Finally, after like 10 minutes, I was like, "Hey, friend to friend, appreciate the prayer, but I got to get some sleep, man. Can you go back to your room?" Like, he was against cologne. My point is, his heart was so right. He wanted to be so close to God, but there is a case, believe it or not, of taking it to the extreme. You know what I've learned, Mike? Extremism is dangerous, even when you're extreme in good areas. For example, this can apply to health. This can apply to spirituality. You've heard the saying. There's two ways of looking at it. You're so spiritually minded, you're no earthly good, right? Cool with that. I kind of have another one. Some people are so earthly minded, they're no spiritually good. Again, it all comes back to that living in balance. That thank God that you pray, but you still need to, spend time with your spouse. I know a lot of people, Mike, they just get a little weird. They lose touch with people. They're not able to connect with people. And they get almost, and then sometimes it can turn into like a spiritual pride. It can turn into a haughtiness. Even in your prayer and your spirituality, if you're not careful and you don't stay grounded and stay balanced and stay accountable to people and have leadership in your life and have friends that can still, that you can still have fun and enjoy life. I get criticized sometimes by spiritual people because of the way that I enjoy life. I'm not going to feel guilty for it because I believe this is the way God wants us to live. I feel just as spiritual as those people. And I believe that the Bible says God has given us all good things to enjoy. This is a life of joy and happiness. And, sometimes, Mike, what happens is people they encounter the spiritual world and they get out of balance and they go into extremism, and that can actually turn into witchcraft. It can turn into a spirit of Jezebel. It can turn into some dangerous things. That's why you've got to continuously stay grounded in the Word. And you know what, Mike? I don't believe anybody can have a relationship with God outside of relationships with people. They are so intertwined that God Himself says that if you don't love your brother who you see, how can you love God who you don't see? And I think a lot of times we don't realize that the way that we treat people and interact with people is a reflection of our relationship with God. We are created for relationships and connections. The danger that I see with people who get overly spiritual is because they're so out of touch, and because they've encountered this, level of spirituality that they feel better than other people. True spirituality will make you feel humble, and you'll love people. You won't judge people. True spiritual people, Mike, don't judge people. They're kind. The Bible says that wisdom that is from above, it's easily to be entreated. You know how you know if someone's truly spiritual? I've got spiritual friends. You can't talk to them. You can't tell them anything because they know it all. They'll tell you, I pray more than you do. I don't go with any of that, Mike. I believe the more spiritual you are, the more wisdom you'll have, the more fruit of the Spirit you'll possess, which is kindness, joy, life, laughter, love. These are just some of the things there, my friend, in my opinion.
Well, well, that's a lot. And of course, the Bible says, "You that are spiritual, restore one." Right. So a spiritual person restores. Um,
In a spirit
Couple
of
things.
meekness, right? In a spirit of meekness, not harsh, not talking
Right.
down to people, not. And this, listen, I believe this even. I know Friday is family and relationships. I believe even when our children fail, we don't need to talk to them in anger or with harshness or talk down to them. Sometimes I see parents come down so hard on their kids and the way that you talk to them. There's a way um, to communicate with people that's not harsh or judgmental. Even when you're dealing, listen, I've dealt with a lot of people that failed, right? You quoted the scripture. We need to read it again. It says, "You which are spiritual, restore in a spirit of meekness." Ready for this? "Considering thyself." You know
Right.
what I do with other people's sins? I don't judge, because here's what I've learned, Mike. You know what I've learned? You have areas that you are weak in that I am very strong in. But do you know that in the same conversation, you have areas that you are very strong in that I am very weak in? And that's why I honestly believe probably the most detesting sin that God hates is people that are judgmental. I'm writing a Bible study right now called the Jesus Bible Study. And in my Bible study, I have a lesson on forgiveness. And in that lesson, I tell the story about the woman taken in adultery, right? They were literally ready to stone her. And Jesus literally wrote in the ground, turned and looked at them men and said, "He that is without sin, let him cast the first stone." So the only time you can truly criticize another person's weakness is when you are 100% perfect and you have no flaws, no sins of your own. See, we got it wrong in Christianity. That's why our backsliders don't come home. That's why a lot of our young people are turned off, because we don't represent God the way that we should. We're extremely judgmental towards others and harsh, and we don't practice restoration. We don't practice what Jesus said, considering yourself. It all goes back to, you know what? You know what I say when I see someone massively fail, Mike? I say, you know what? God bless them, because there's only one reason I don't struggle in that area, and that's the grace of God.
Right.
One reason. And do you know when you read one another powerful revelation? Do you know when Jesus told Peter, he said, "I prayed for you that your faith doesn't fail." Do you know what the next thing he said to Peter was? "When you are converted," you ready for this? "When you are converted, strengthen your brethren." That's powerful. In other words, when you overcome, I've met people. Jesus said, I will give mercy to those that show mercy. I will be the last human being on this planet to condemn or criticize or judge another man's failures because I don't want to be judged. I know I've got flaws. I know I have weaknesses. I know I still sin, my friend. And I also have a revelation that when you get strong in an area, when you overcome, let's say you battled something and you overcame it. Mike, some of the most judgmental people I've met are people that have the darkest past and weaknesses. And they have forgotten that true spirituality doesn't lead you to being hard on people and judging people. You know, God, Jesus said, when you're strengthened, or when you're converted, strengthen your brothers. So if you had a problem with alcohol and God sets you free, you need to minister to other alcoholics in a spirit of restoration, not coming down on them, not condemning them. If you had an abortion, if you had sex outside of marriage, if you had addictions, pornography, if you're a man or a woman, my Lord, nowadays, Mike, women are addicted to pornography. If you're addicted to pornography, then you need to, and when God delivers you, you don't become hateful and harsh and rude and condemning to other people that struggle in that. No, you strengthen the brethren. You help them. You tell your story. You give hope. You smile and say, hey, you're going to overcome this. You're going to heal. God's going to help you through it. I just think, Mike, when it comes to spirituality, we've kind of lost focus. And listen, that's the real reason why we're not getting more people in our churches, is because a lot of, and this is, I'm going to call it like it is. This is our show, so I'm going to just say it. Probably the most judgmental people on the planet, I love you, I'm one of them, are Pentecostals. They are by far some of the most judgmental. Those Pentecostals, about our dress and the way that we dress, it is actually scary. It is scary to think how we treat people that don't dress like us. I mean, there's people that are actually rude about it, Mike. There's people that are mean. Listen, we picked up kids from the ghetto, my friend. I had a little girl that came out of the project. She was about 12 years old, and all of a sudden she stopped coming on the bus. And we went followed up on her. Come to find out, some lady in the church railed her, chewed her out because she wore a short skirt. And the girl felt so embarrassed and so shamed that, so I said, listen, I gave her a $50 bill, and I said, listen, I'm going to give you this $50 bill on one condition. If you come to church one more time and secretly point out who the lady was that told you that. I had an idea who it was, and it was. And I called the lady in my office. I literally handed her a sheet of paper with the name and addresses of 7 other churches in the area. And I said, I want to ask you to go visit these churches. I said, because there's only one reason I will allow you to continue to attend this church. That you personally go pick that little girl up out of the projects that you've never been in. Because I've gone to her home where her dad's in prison. Her mom is a prostitute. They're poor. Their lights have been turned off. There's been no food in the house. For you to rail her about the way she dresses, she's like, Pastor, they need to learn how to dress. They come to this church. That's it. Honestly, those people are borderline going to split hell wide open. They'll be in hell faster than the heathen and the atheist. Those people with that kind of spirit are going to be in hell faster than people that are drug dealers, my friend. They will go to hell. Trust me, they will go to hell. You know why? I said, you know something? I said, I'm going to ask you to go pick this girl up and take her shopping and buy her some nice clothes and take her out to a 5-star restaurant and buy her a beautiful, amazing meal. If you'll do that, I'll let you continue to attend this church. But if you will not do that, if you won't go pick this girl up out of the projects and take her and buy her nice clothes, you're never welcome back in this church. And you know what? She never came back. You know what Jesus said? If you refuse them, you refuse me.
Right.
So I don't want those kind of people in my church. I don't. When I used to have Pentecostals move in, I used to literally give them that sheet of paper and say, please visit these other churches. Because I didn't want, don't get me wrong, I love Pentecost. I opened a can of worms and we got 20 seconds left. I love Pentecost. But we got some issues. And a lot of Pentecostals, second, third, fourth generation, have major issues. scary issues. I don't mean that negative. I'm telling you the truth, that we got to have the spirit of Christ. We got to love people. We can't be judgmental and harsh towards others. Look, wow, I really opened a can of worms, baby, but it's okay. Don't misunderstand me and don't judge me, my friend. Feel the spirit of what I'm saying.
That's wow. That's great stuff, and I think we might have to talk about this another time, Matt. Maybe on next Wednesday's show. Just it's so amazing how we're Christians and yet sometimes we're not very Christ-like. And somebody said it before. To get close to Jesus, to be like Him. That's our goal.
That's scary, Mike. Let's go one more minute because I don't want to just end, and I know we're keeping it around 30 minutes. Mike, here's the bottom line, okay, about this. Not everybody that comes to our church, we have to thank you, Arnie. Arnie's right. We got our Soul Winner show starting. Not everybody that comes to our church is going to look like us and live like us.
Right.
And we cannot. It happens more than we realize. It happens more than we realize, my friend. And there's a spirit behind that. We love you. We'll see you. Hey, don't forget, today at noon, we have our Soul Winners show. Anybody wants to learn more about soul winning, click the link that'll be on my Facebook or Twitter page. Mike can put it up here real quick if he's able. We love you guys. Thank you for your time. Appreciate you. We'll see you we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's about business and entrepreneurship. It's going to be fun. Friday is about family and relationship. Please tell your family and friends, everybody you know, tell them to go to fuelforsuccess.tv. They can watch any previous episode. Looking forward to connecting you. Mike, see you in 30 minutes, my friend. God bless you guys. We love you.